Why? It's Terrance Gangsta Williams, aka OG Giggity. Thank y'all for supporting my book. Now we're gonna get into chapter 2 of the book. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I wrote this back in the early 2000s. My mother's brother, he edited the book for me and added some words to it, so he wrote the book with me. He a co-writer, but I see I got a nice turnout, so we're going to keep it going every day at 12, God will. 12 a.m., we're going to drop a chapter. Till y'all say, okay, Gee, that's enough. We don't want to hear no more of that bull. Wah, I'm out.
Chapter 2 Enough is Enough. It takes 31 hours, but finally they reach their destination. Paul and Ashanti dismiss their paranoia by using the bathroom to screw every few hours. After all, there is only so much they can talk about. Between their sexual adventures, sleeping, and eating, the ride is somewhat bearable. The Greyhound pulls into the station, and they are both awakened when the driver announces, Algiers, home of the biggest crawfish in the state. Neither of them has much luggage, so they quickly catch a cab to Pace Street. Although she hasn't been home in 3 years, Ashanti often calls to check on her grandmother and homegirls. Her grandmother, Ma Anna, is in her 70s, but she's still strong as any motherly black woman from the South. She has been working the same job for over 50 years. One can only imagine why she has become content with what she does and hasn't sought to own the factory she works in and day out. Despite her complacency, Ashanti loves Myanna to death. There is nothing she won't do for her. The cab turns down Page Street and stops in front of house number 143. Ashanti is preparing herself for the lecture she knows she's about to receive. As the cab comes to a halt, Paul immediately begins to miss his house back in New York. The neighborhood they pass through looks a lot worse than Manhattan's projects. What he considered a ghetto in New York fails in comparison to what he sees now. Even though he doesn't see any apartment buildings, graffiti, or cars parked along the street, these images are replaced with what looks like shacks, shade trees, and a heat that seems to attack him. He again second guesses his decision to run away. The thoughts of Chico erase his discomfort. He figures, what the hell? He will make this work. Ashanti isn't surprised that her key still works, and they proceed into the house. Paul has a peculiar look on his face, because he has never seen a house set up like this. Up north, all the houses have basements and sitting rooms. But this house looks like you can run through the front, straight through the back door. Ashanti says, I know it's a shotgun, but it will have to do for now. Not wanting to seem unappreciative, Paul smiles, trying to remain humble. She bypasses a few doors that look like openings to closets and stops at the last door. She gently knocks. Yeah? Who is it? Recognizing the deep voice of Mr. Dyer, otherwise called Mr. D, Ashanti simply opens the door and walks in. It seems like only yesterday, as they both laugh, happy to see each other. Their embrace is interrupted by the introduction of Paul. Mr. D, this is my good friend Paul. Mr. D looks Paul up and down, then says, any friend of Ashanti's is a friend of mine. After a few minutes of catching up, Ashanti tells Mr. D that Paul needs to stay with them for a while, and preferably in Mr. D's room. Along with that request, she asks Mr. D not to tell Ma Anna. Mr. D is glad that Ashanti is back home. He smokes crack occasionally, and this means that she will be hooking him up, especially after allowing Paul to live there. Over the years, she has often had one of her girls hook Mr. D up with a sexual favor or two. Now that she's back, he looks forward to the blowjobs and free sex once again. Although Mr. D has been a chronic crack smoker over the years, Mr. D has kept himself together. No unprotected sex, or even smoking behind someone he thinks might have hepatitis. So far, so good. Yes, he is definitely glad that she's home. Let the good times roll. Ashanti takes Paul by the hand saying, come on, baby. Mr. D tells her, Myanna usually works the 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. shift, but she's been coming in earlier because of all the guests the Thibodeaux are having. The Thibodeaux are the factory owners that Myanna and Myanna's mother, Nana, have worked for the last 90 years combined, deshelling seafood that heads to the mega seafood shops in Louisiana. Ashanti truly missed her bedroom. Of course, it isn't the biggest, but it's hers and will always be. It doesn't take long before they find themselves rolling on the squeaky bed. Ashanti's thinking, now, I'll show this city boy how we get down south. They're not concerned with who's around. They just have to have one another. Paul knows he's blessed in the sex department, and she's teaching him how to control his nut when he comes. Slow down. Slow down, baby. That's better. Now think about something mellow. There you go. Now fuck me harder. Harder. This time don't stop. She instructs him while concentrating on not coming herself. Neither of them stops to notice Mr. D by the door. While he's listening to them, he's doing him in the hallway. It seems like all three of them come at the same time. While in the shower, Ashanti washes Paul from top to bottom, telling him that she can't believe that he's so young. He is about to protest about his age, but remembers that Sports Illustrated mentioned everything about him. By the way, how old are you? I'm 23. I'm too old for you? Nah, age is just math. In the process of getting dressed, she asks him about his shoe and pants size. Paul wonders why she is asking all these questions, but decides not to worry about it. The hours on the road and the constant sex having finally caught up with him, Paul makes his way to the back room and falls asleep within minutes. Ashanti takes this opportunity to hook her man up. She calls her girls to tell them about Paul, but more so to take advantage of their thieving skills. Girl, you can meet him later. Look, just write this down. 34 in the waist, 6 feet and 2 inches tall, size 13 shoe. And girl, make sure you bring the top of the line shit, even down to his boxers, she says before hanging up. Ashanti is awakened by Myanna kissing her on the cheek. Oh, baby, I'm so glad you finally decided to come home. We missed you so much. I know there's family up there, but them city slickers don't mean you no good, child. Little did Myanna know, Ashanti taught the city of brotherly love a thing or two. They embrace for a while, and Ashanti sees the tears in Myanna's eyes. The love they share is truly genuine. Myanna tells her about the food in the kitchen. Ashanti can only imagine. She hasn't tasted collard greens, macaroni and cheese, smothered pork chops, Cajun seafood gumbo, and apple pie cooked the Louisiana way in a long time. She fixes herself a big plate and heads back to her room. Like Paul, she too is road weary, and it is time to lay it back down. The Thibodeaux got the butter from the duck today, is the last thing Myanna says before heading off to her bedroom. Ashanti smiles, glad Myanna is her grandmother. Seeing her erases all the bad memories from her childhood, and these are her last thoughts before falling asleep. Later that evening, she is awakened again, this time by a tap on her window. She knows it's her girls. Their routine is coming through the alley and up the side of the house. She lets them in through the back door after peeking in on Paul and Mr. D. They're knocked out, but she notices 2 empty plates in their room. The girls bring in over a dozen bags. Macy's, Neiman Marcus, Saks and Polo, Banana Republic, Handsome Harry's, and Caesar Adelini shops. Ashanti inventories what they've copped and admires all the name brand stuff like Fat Farm, Avarex, Aldo, Paul Smith, Sean John, Evisu, and Luggs. Shit, even the jewelry and the socks are top of the line. Paul is said to be a king. They have a bunch of questions for Ashanti, and I want to see her beau, the one they've been hearing so much about and working for all evening. All Ashanti lets them know is that he's homeless, and while returning from visiting her aunts in Philly, they met at the bus station. She tells them about her episodes in Philly, the bus trip to New York, and about her and Paul screwing from New York to Algiers. Paul walks into her bedroom. Damn, girl, you wasn't lying. You got a twin brother, huh? Michelle asks. Michelle wants to be hooked up with anybody close to what she sees in front of her. Paul, these are my girlfriends, Cedra, Tyra, and of course Michelle. After introducing everyone, Ashanti says, now you hoochies stay away from my man. Y'all know I don't play that shit. They sit around and talk for a couple hours more. Paul is missing school and inquires about the schools in the area. Although he can't attend, he will at least check them out. The girls tell him about John F. Kennedy and John McDonald schools. Kennedy is just around the corner, and McDonald is about 8 blocks from there, Tyra gladly explains to him. After a few 4-packs of wine coolers, the girls decide to leave. Paul and Ashanti do what they know best. They make love passionately and quietly, making sure to not wake Mayana. The next morning, Ashanti has some errands to run, and Paul takes the opportunity to scope out the 2 high schools. He wishes there was some way all this mess could be fixed. Shit! He imagines himself playing ball down here. The weather seems perfect, and if all the girls are like Ashanti, he'll have it made. At some point throughout the night, Ashanti snuck into his room and laid all his new gear out. The note read, hey, sweetie, have to run some errands. All this is yours. I want my king looking sharp. She signed the note with a happy face, and the lipstick on the paper formed the shape of her lips. He walks down the street with his chest high, sporting his blue and gold Marshall Falk jersey, blue Nautica sweatshorts, and tan Timbs. When he approaches the corner, he sees 3 guys in green and gold uniform pushing around this kid wearing blue and gold. He rushes over to help the kid pulling one of the guys off and punching one of the others in the eye. Due to his size, the kids think he's a college student and takes off running. Paul helps the kid off the ground while noticing the Kennedy Cougars emblem on his shirt. He assumes this is some type of turf war, as he has witnessed the gangs in New York in action. Paul doesn't have these problems. Although gangs exist, he's popular and respected in Manhattan. The kid thanks him and introduces himself as Kevin Murray. Paul introduces himself and asks, what's all the fighting about? Kevin explains to him how those guys have beef with him because one of their girlfriends is sweating him. Paul tells him that he has just moved there and lives around the corner. Kevin tells him that he lives within the metropolitan area and asks Paul, what college do you attend? Paul tells him he attends Martin L. King Jr. High School and is from Queens, New York. I kind of figured you were from NY, from how you talk and that blue Yankee fitted you have on your head. Kevin is amazed at how big Paul is. Kevin is rather small and a scruffy youngster, and he's favorable to Lil Turk of the Cash Money Millionaires. Paul and Kevin immediately form a friendship. They talk a little longer until the school bell rings. I have to go. What are you doing around 3:15 this afternoon? Asks Kevin. Paul doesn't have any plans and assumes Kevin wants to make sure the crew from McDonald doesn't jump him again. While they shake hands, Paul says, yo son, I'll be here at 3:15. Cool, Kevin quickly says. When Paul walks back into the house, Mr. D is sitting at the table drinking a Milwaukee's Best. He offers Paul one, but being that it's early in the day, Paul refuses. Mr. D starts telling him about all the freaks in the neighborhood, then asks Paul, boy, what you intend to do with yourself? You know you just can't live off of no woman your whole life. Between drinking, he adds, Ashanti cares for you, but you needs to get yourself a hustle. Mr. D offers to hook him up with one of his friends. This friend, or kingpin, runs all the weed on the West Bank. Paul thinks about this for a minute. A new chick, a new town, and now a new hustle. What the fuck? I gotta get it how I live, he thinks. After breakfast, they head over to meet Mr. D's friend. Paul is surprised that Mr. D has a car. In fact, the old Honda Civic starts right up as they head to the cutoff, a part of the 15th Ward. He has no idea how to sell weed or where to sell it, but he decides he will just trust Mr. D. While in the car, Mr. D tells him how his friend has been having problems with his workers. It seems like they are smoking as much as they are selling. They pull up in front of a corner store, a regular mom and pop type. The store used to be a 3-bedroom apartment that has now been converted. All the windows have bars on them, and the front entrance is secured with a steel door. Mr. D looks at Paul and says, "One way in and one way out." He knocks 3 times before a black dude in his 40s opens the door. The dude looks like a throwback, like he's still trying to live out his youth. Paul sizes him up, figuring the guy to be about 5'8" and 185 pounds. The cat is wearing a white Kango with white Reeboks, a white wife beater hanging over his back, and black Sean John jeans. When the dude smiles, Paul notices the 2 gold teeth on his bottom set of teeth. The dude looks at Mr. D. "What's up, my nigga? I ain't seen you in a month of Sundays." Mr. D gives him some dap and introduces Paul as his nephew from New York. Paul looks at the dude and says, "What up, son?" "The city of Heron. What's up, my man? I'm Iran. If you stay around long enough, I'll tell you what that means." Mr. D tells Iran that his nephew needs some work and that he doesn't smoke. Over the years, Iran and Mr. D have become good friends. Once upon a time, they both enjoyed smoking crack, but Iran had bigger plans than to die with a pipe in his hands. He couldn't afford to sit back and collect a check like Mr. D. He had to get his hustle on to make his plans materialize. Despite these differences, they still trust each other. Mr. D knows that Iran will hire Paul based on the fact that he is his nephew. Iran reaches up and places his arm around Paul, and they walk around the converted house. He instructs Paul not to worry about the grocery side of the business because his niece handles that. All he has to do is work the slide window in the alley, let the workers in and out, and keep the money straight. After the tour and instructions, he tells Paul to return at 9 that night. Then they head back to the front. While walking out of the building, they hear this booming system playing "The Streets Is Watching" by Jay-Z when a red Tahoe pulls up. Iran just shakes his head. A dude jumps out and approaches them. Paul is watching intently. The braids on the dude's head is something new to him. The dude is very loud and has the look of trouble. Iran introduces Howard to Paul, letting him know that Paul will be working with them. Howard gives him a dirty look while saying, "What up, boy?" Paul doesn't want to seem intimidated or disrespectful, so he just says, "Everything's cool, kid." "Where you from, boy?" Howard asks coldly. Keeping his story consistent, Paul explains that he is from Queens, New York. Howard figures this much from his accent, but really doesn't care. He thinks, "Fuck New York. I'm a dog. This nigga out until he quits." Howard really wants to hire his own cousin and is pissed that Iran has hired this punk, or so he thinks about Paul. Iran looks at his all-black Movado. "Damn, it's 3 already. I'll holler at y'all later." This is perfect timing because Paul promised to meet Kevin at 3:15. They all say their goodbyes and go in separate directions. In the car, Mr. D congratulates Paul and assures him that working with Iran can lead to bigger and better things. Mr. D has become attached in this short time, thinking of Paul as the son he never had. Paul stands at the gate by John F. Kennedy Junior High School as he waits for Kevin. The girls are passing by smiling. He has not seen chicks of this complexion back home. They all seem to be of a golden honey brown or toasted vanilla hue with different color eyes, ranging from dark brown to clear blue. Damn, it's Lisa Ray's, Jada's, Maya's, Tyra's, Sierra's, Trina's, Naomi's, Esther's, and the beauty from Belly. DMX Beauty, T something Hicks. Man, a player can go blind from all these dimes. Paul begins to reminisce about Booker T and that trifling Brenda ruining $4,000 after he finally got the coochie. "I can't believe that shit," he says. But that Cheryl, I want to hit that for sure. While observing the girls, he sees Kevin coming from behind them. He has exited a blue and gold door that has a cougar painted on it. Kevin is happy to see Paul. Realizing that he won't have to fight this day, he thinks to himself, shit, I could get used to this. Kevin and Paul give each other dap and continue admiring the beautiful honeys passing by, going about their business. It seems like Kevin knows all the pretty girls. They all stop to speak. Keisha walks up to them, and Paul notices how starched her uniform is. The blue and gold uniform fits her to perfection. She finally says, "Hi, Kevin. Is that your brother?" Kevin decides to play this to the fullest and replies, "Yeah, true that. Bro, this is Keisha. Keisha, this is my brother Paul." Paul is mesmerized. Keisha's bow-legged, glossy jet black skin with a Lil' Kim smile and has her nails and feet painted sky blue with white clouds on each nail. Paul doesn't even hear her when she tells him that Kitty Black wants to holler at him. Kitty Black is 2 dimes. Matter of fact, she's a dub. At 5'5", she's Kenya Moore's splitting image, and she carries that same ever-present flotational device. Good googly moogly. Kitty Black gives Paul her number as he and Kevin head toward the bus stop. "Yo, son, I'ma get with Kitty. Man, did you see that ass on her? I could take that ass swimming with me from here to Bermuda." During the 4-block walk, Kevin tells Paul how the guys from McDonough have been at him since school started. Paul feels a little sorry for him and assures him that he'll meet him at the bus stop in the mornings and at school in the afternoon. Paul understands what Kevin is going through, as he has seen many kids in the city get jumped on for nothing. It isn't like Kevin can't take them individually, but it would be foolish and injurious for him to try and fight all 3 of them at the same time. Kevin feels a sudden form of safety knowing that his pretend-to-be brother will look out for him. Their friendship has started, neither realizing what the future has in store for this dynamic duo. Paul arrives at the shop at 9 o'clock sharp. Iran shows him how to bag the weed, instructing him to always give them a little extra. It keeps them coming back. Iran then goes over the do's and don'ts. Never let no one see your stash. Never let no one see you count your money. Always keep your place of business. And keep in mind at all times that niggas is out to replace you, so become irreplaceable. Iran then shows him where the 357 automatic is located. Be careful with this thing. It can shoot up to 16 times in a few seconds and will put a hole in something the size of a golf ball. Paul thinks all of this is exciting and easy to do. He believes that all he will do is make some money and take care of his newfound love, Ashanti. Little does he know, the Big Easy is not at all like the City of Dreams. As an afterthought, Iran tells him, always remember to make sure they put the money in the window before you give them the weed. Iran leaves Paul there, and everything is going smoothly until Howard arrives. Paul doesn't know what the dude's problem is. Howard continually calls him boy while pushing him around. This goes on for several days, and Paul is getting pissed. He doesn't want to tell Iran about it because he doesn't want to appear to be soft. Howard uses the spot as a whorehouse. He brings different girls there daily, fronting like everything is his. "Hey, young punk, how much money you made me today?" he asks Paul. Paul tells him, "We got about 5,500 now." Howard hollers at him, "We? Motherfucker, you work for me," slapping Paul across the face. Deidre, the girl with Howard, thinks it's funny and entices Howard to hit him again. Paul balls up in the corner as Howard attempts to slap him again. Howard is unaware that Iran had came in while he was stunting on Paul. "Howard, dog, why the fuck you beating on youngster?" asks Iran. Howard lies when telling Iran, "I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, he was blowing kisses and shit at Deidre." Iran knows that Howard's lying and makes a mental note to keep an eye on him. Over the next few days, Iran takes Paul under his wing. He teaches him how to drive, how to carry himself in the streets, and shows him around the city. Paul is so busy that he almost forgot. He promised Kevin he'd pick him up after school. Yo, I gotta go pick up my stick man from Kennedy. All right, youngster, I'll drop you off up there. Cool? Cool. Paul's nights hustling are going superb. For the last 2 weeks, he has cleared $3,500 a day for himself. Whenever he gets in, Ashanti's waiting. And just thinking about her wet coochie makes him horny. Kevin is not having problems at school anymore, and this frees Paul up in the mornings and afternoons. The only issue he has is this dude, Howard. Howard has increased his demeaning behavior and has been antagonizing and challenging him at every turn. Paul knows this isn't good for business, but yet he refuses to mention this to Iran. The more Paul hangs with Iran, the more their bond grows. In fact, Iran starts letting Paul borrow his mint green Audi S6 Avant with the white leather interior, white rag top, and 22-inch low and hard LDR rims. Paul feels on top of the world. He has a beautiful chick, a good job, and a true friend in both Kevin and Iran. Better yet, Iran is his mentor. It's Saturday night. Iran allows Paul to take off to take Ashanti to the Cash Money, T.I. and Lil Jeezy show. He deserves it. After upping the store's ante from $6,000 to $7,500 a day, before heading to the show, Paul decides he needs to stop at the spot to get some more cash out of his stash. When he arrives, he figures nobody's there because all the lights were out. Once inside, he goes straight to the cabinet to get his loot. He becomes alarmed when he hears some movement in the other room. He's certain that Iran and Howard aren't there. Iran's niece closed the half of the grocery shop earlier. Defensively, he grabs the .357 and heads to the other room. Paul flicks on the light switch and sees Howard banging his chick from the back doggy style. When the lights come on, he stops while she grabs the sheet to cover herself. He can tell from the hair and fingernails that it's Deidre, the same chick that tried to get Howard to beat him up. Howard turns around with an angry face while saying, "Motherfucker, you done fucked up now. I'ma kick your ass." Howard takes a swing at Paul, and like the saying goes, for every action, there's a reaction. Before Paul realizes it, he empties the clip into Howard. Deidre looks on in shock and is too scared to grab her clothes until Paul says, "Get your shit and get the fuck ghost." He then grabs the phone and nervously calls Iran. Within minutes, Iran arrives. He notices Paul's chick sitting in his car. "Hey, Ashanti, where's Paul?" "He's inside, but he won't let me in." "Okay, sit tight. I'll go see what's going on." "Fine." Walking inside, Iran finds Paul in shock with the gun in his hand. Paul has never shot anyone and is nervous as hell. I didn't mean it. It happened so quick." "Was anyone else around?" "Yeah, that girl Deidre. Where's she at now?" "I told her to get ghost." "Are you out of your fucking mind?" "What?" "Man, you never leave a witness, especially your enemies. They'll either tell the cops or seek revenge." "All right, I got you." Iran tells Paul to get on home and relax. He'll take care of everything.